The chains in the forest. The forest was quiet. Only the wind moved, whispering between tall trees. Leaves danced under the gray sky. Eli, a lone traveler, walked slowly, his boots crunching on the dirt. He had come to this border forest to escape noise, people, and the war stories of the cities, but today something felt wrong. He paused. His ears caught a sound. It was faint, like someone crying. Not human, not animal. Something in between. Eli's eyes narrowed. He stepped off the path, pushing branches aside. The sound grew louder, soft, sobs, mixed with a strange hum. Then he saw her. A girl. No, not a human girl. She was chained to a tree. Her skin was silver blue, almost glowing in the forest shadows. Her hair was white, long and tangled. She wore torn alien robes, covered in dirt. Her arms were bruised and deep red lines ran down her back where the chains had cut into her. She looked up. Their eyes met, bright violet eyes filled with fear and pain. Eli froze. He had never seen a creature like this. Not in books, not in war, reports. She looked young, barely older than 20 in human years. But there was something ancient in her eyes, something that had seen too much. The girl didn't speak. She just stared. Her lips trembled. A single word escaped her mouth, whispered, weak and almost lost in the wind. Help! Eli stepped closer, carefully. His hand moved to the hilt of his knife, not to threaten, but to cut the chains. But suddenly, a crack, a sound behind him. Voices, footsteps, men, armed, coming closer. Eli's heart pounded. He jumped behind a thick tree trunk and held his breath. 3 soldiers passed by, worn uniforms, alien armor, and strange tattoos on their necks. Still here? One muttered. Let her rot, another said. She's not worth anything now. They spat on the ground and moved away. Eli didn't move until the forest was silent again. Then slowly, he turned back. The alien girl hadn't made a sound. Her eyes now looked dull. She had accepted death. But Eli hadn't. He walked forward again. He looked at the thick chains, strange alien metal glowing faintly. The cuffs were tight around her wrists and ankles. He took out his knife. I'm going to free you, he said softly. She didn't answer, but her eyes flickered. He cut at the vines first, then tried the cuffs. The metal was strange, hard, smooth, and almost alive. The knife didn't work. But then, click. A small part near the lock had a weakness. One by one, he opened the cuffs. Her body fell forward, weak and shaking. Eli caught her gently. She looked up, tears mixing with dirt on her face. I'm not your enemy, Eli said. I don't even know who you are. The girl tried to speak, but only coughed. He gave her water from his flask. She drank it slowly, like it was her first drink in days. Then suddenly she stood, weak, but proud. She looked at him for one long second, her violet eyes shining with something new. Hope? Then she turned and ran. Eli didn't chase her. He just stood there alone in the forest, wondering who she was. Why was she chained? Why was no one helping her, and why did he feel like this was only the beginning? Later that night, Eli sat outside his small wooden cabin on the edge of the forest. He couldn't stop thinking about her. The silver skin, the pain in her eyes, the chains, and the way she looked at him before she ran, like she had memorized his face, like she would return. He didn't know it yet, but she would, and not alone, and not empty-handed. She didn't run. Eli didn't sleep much that night. The wind howled through the trees, but it wasn't the sound that kept him awake. It was the silence that came after, the kind that made his skin feel tight and his thoughts loud. He kept thinking about the alien girl, the way her chains clinked softly when she moved, the way her eyes looked into his, deep, searching, almost human, the way she whispered, "Help," like it was the first time anyone had heard her voice in a long time. and the way she disappeared into the forest like smoke. He should have felt relief. The girl was free. He did the right thing, but something inside him felt unfinished. Something told him this wasn't over. 2 days passed. Eli kept working around his cabin, chopping wood, fixing the roof, boiling rainwater, the usual, but strange. Things began happening. First, the rabbit snares he set near the river caught nothing, but fresh meat appeared on his doorstep the next morning, cleaned, skinned, wrapped in forest leaves. He blinked. No note, no footprints, just the meat. The next day, his old firewood pile, wet and half-rotted, was gone. In its place, new dry logs were stacked neatly. They smelled like sweet sap and burned longer. Then, on the third morning, something else waited for him, scratched into the bark of a tree near his porch in neat alien symbols. I remember. Eli stared at the message for a long time. The letters were smooth, careful, not angry. They weren't a warning. They were a promise. That night, he couldn't stop glancing at the woods. He left his cabin door unlocked. Rain came again, soft at first, then harder. Thunder rolled over the hills. Lightning flashed, lighting up the tree line in short bursts, then another knock. 3 slow knocks. Eli froze. No one ever knocked this far out. Not in a storm. He grabbed his lantern and opened the door. She was standing there, the same alien girl, but not the same. She looked stronger now. Still thin, still covered in scars, but her back was straight. Her eyes didn't hold fear this time, only calm. She held something in her hands, a bundle wrapped in silver cloth. Water ran down her arms, but she didn't seem to care. "I brought something," she said. Her voice was soft but clearer now. Lee stepped aside without a word. She walked in slowly, her eyes scanning the room like she was learning every corner, every shadow. He set the lantern down. "You came back," she nodded. "I didn't run," she said. Eli blinked. "What?" "That night. I didn't run. I followed the wind, like my kind do when we are broken. It carried me back to life." She placed the bundle on his table. Her fingers unwrapped it gently. Inside was something glowing, something alive. It was a small, round creature, about the size of a cat. Its skin was smooth and warm, glowing softly. With shifting blue light, it had no eyes, but it moved like it could see everything. It floated above the table, humming quietly. "What is that?" Eli asked, stepping back slightly. "A part of me," she said. "A part I no longer need. But you do." He looked at her, confused. "You helped me when I had nothing," she said. "No name, no voice, no people. Now I give you something. In return." Eli looked into her eyes again, the same eyes from the tree, but no longer full of fear. Now they carried strength, warmth, gratitude. "What's your name?" he asked finally. She hesitated. Then she answered, slowly. "Sayari," he repeated it softly. "Sayari." The small creature floated toward him. It hovered near his chest, then gently touched his skin. In that moment, Eli felt a strange warmth flow into him, like sunlight and music at the same time. He didn't know what this creature was. He didn't know who Sayari truly was. But somehow, he knew. This was only the beginning. The mark of the hunted, the creature Sayari had given him, Eli named it Glow, never left his side. It floated silently around him, changing colors with his moods. When he was calm, it pulsed soft blue. When he was worried, it turned a nervous orange. At night, it curled up near his bed like a warm, living lantern. Eli had never owned anything like it. It didn't eat, didn't sleep, and never made a sound, except a soft hum, like a distant lullaby. But soon, Glow wasn't the only thing following him. On the 5th morning after Sayari's return, Eli walked into town for supplies he rarely went. People were suspicious of loners, but he needed salt and tools. Glow stayed hidden under his coat, dim and still. The village was quiet. Traders sat in muddy stalls. Children played near the well, soldiers too, standing near the checkpoint. Alien soldiers. Eli's steps slowed. These soldiers weren't from Earth. They wore black armor, their eyes covered with red glass visors. One of them pinned a worn paper to the central post. Eli looked around carefully, then waited for the crowd to move on. When no one was looking, he stepped closer. It was a wanted poster, a sketch of Sayari, her silver blue skin, her white hair, her violet eyes, all drawn in sharp, angry lines. The text underneath read, "Wanted fugitive, property escaped from Sector 7 transport, dangerous, report sightings immediately." Eli's chest went cold. Property? They weren't looking for a criminal. They were looking for a slave. Eli stuffed the paper under his coat and walked home fast. He didn't stop, not even when Glow started glowing red beneath his coat. When he reached his cabin, he locked the door and windows. Then he took out the poster and laid it on the table. Sayari came out from the back room where she had been resting. She looked at him, then at the paper. She didn't flinch. "I knew this day would come," she said. "You didn't tell me," Eli said quietly. "They wouldn't stop if I had." He looked at her, searching for answers. "Who are they?" She looked down, silent for a moment. Then she said, "Collectors. They gather creatures like me, not to protect, to sell. I was born into it, raised behind walls. I escaped once. They caught me. I escaped again. Then you found me." Her voice shook, but she didn't cry. "I am not property," she added. "Not anymore." Eli felt his fists tighten. "They think you are, and now they're here." Sayari looked up, her eyes sharp. "Then we don't wait." She moved to the door. Her hand glowed softly as she pressed it against the wood. A shimmer spread out across the cabin. A thin wall of alien energy, barely visible, now surrounded them. "A shield?" Eli asked. She nodded. "It will hide us for now, but not forever." Then, without warning, she turned to him and said, "They marked you." "What?" She stepped forward, her fingers brushing his neck. "A soft sting." Eli pulled away, confused. She held up a small round device, half metal, half organic. "A tracker." "They must have placed this on you in the village," she said. "That's how they know who helped me." Eli stared at the device. His stomach sank. "They'll come here," he whispered. Sayari nodded, and then, for the first time, she said something that chilled him deeper than anything else. "They won't ask questions, Eli. They don't need me alive, and they won't leave you breathing either." That night, Eli didn't sleep again. Glow hovered silently by the window, its soft light the only thing cutting through the dark. Outside, the forest was too quiet. Sayari sat by the fire, sharpening a strange alien blade she had hidden in her robes. She looked ready, like she had done this before. Eli sat across from her, holding a simple hunting rifle, old and rusted but reliable. "I'm not a fighter," he said. She looked up. "You don't need to be. You already made your choice." "What choice?" "You stood between chains and freedom." Then she looked away and whispered, "That's more courage than most fighters I've known." As the wind howled louder, through the trees, far away red lights flickered in the forest. They were coming, and they weren't coming to talk. A visitor in the storm. The rain came hard that night. It hit the rooftop like falling stones, loud and fast. Thunder rolled in the distance, deep and endless. Trees swayed under the angry sky, and lightning flashed in quick bursts, lighting the forest like a strobe of war. Inside the cabin, Eli stood by the window. He didn't blink. Sayari sat near the fire, her blade on her lap, her eyes never moving from the door. Neither spoke. The air was too heavy for words. Glow, the little alien creature, hovered near the ceiling, pulsing a steady red. Danger. Close. Watching. They're near, Sayari finally said. Eli didn't ask how she knew. She always knew. The door rattled. Not knocked. Rattled. Someone was on the other side. Someone who didn't care for manners. Sayari rose quickly and moved to the back of the cabin, her steps silent. She melted into the shadows like smoke. Eli grabbed his old hunting rifle. His palms were sweaty, his breath shaky. Then, bang! The door swung open. Rain poured in, and a tall, armored figure stood in the doorway. But it wasn't who he expected. It was another alien. Different. Soaked head to toe, wearing a cracked helmet and battered gear. Not a collector, but not a friend either. The figure looked around quickly, then closed the door behind him. His voice came out through a broken translator, crackling and low. Human. You're hiding her. Eli raised his rifle. Who are you? I don't care if she lives, the alien said, removing his helmet. His face was tired. His eyes were pale yellow, scar over one brow. I just need her to run, because if she stays, they'll burn this whole forest to catch her. Eli didn't lower the gun. You're one of them? He asked. No, the alien replied. I was, long ago, until I saw what they really do. Sayari stepped out of the shadow. The alien flinched. I should kill you, she said. You should, the visitor agreed. But then you'll never hear what I came to say. Sayari stared at him. Her blade stayed in her hand. Speak, she said. The alien stepped closer to the fire. He didn't sit. The hunters are 3 hours behind me, he said, and they don't care if this man is innocent. They've already marked him. When they arrive, they'll torch the land, cut power, block signals. And when they do, he looked at Eli. They'll drag your broken body through the dirt, just to remind others not to help runaways. Sayari's fists tightened. Why warn us? Eli asked. Why risk your life? The alien turned toward him. Because I have a daughter, same age as her. And if she ever broke free from her chains, I hope someone like you would help her too. The room went silent. Only the fire spoke, popping softly in the wet air. Finally, Sayari nodded. You said run, she said. Where? There's a dead zone. North Ridge. Scans don't work there, and something deep under the ground blocks. They're tech. Will you lead us? Eli asked. The alien gave a dry smile. No, I'm going the other way. I'll lead them away. Buy you time. Eli stepped forward. You'll die. I know. Sayari walked up to the alien and placed a hand on his arm. Your daughter would be proud. The alien nodded once. Then, without another word, he turned and walked back into the storm. Door slammed shut behind him. Eli looked at Sayari. Do we trust him? She stared into the fire. We don't have to. The storm will cover us. We move now. Eli grabbed what little he needed, blanket, tools, water. Glow slipped into his coat, humming softly again. Sayari took nothing, except her blade. As they stepped into the forest, the rain soaking them instantly, Eli glanced back at the cabin one last time. It had been his home for 3 years. Quiet. Safe. Alone. Now it was a beacon, a trap. Soon, it would be ash. He turned away and followed Sayari into the night. Lightning lit the path. Thunder roared above. Behind them, far away, a single loud explosion echoed through the hills. The visitor had kept his promise, and now they ran together. The gift that breathed. The sun never rose the next morning, not because it didn't try, but because the clouds swallowed it whole. The sky remained gray, thick with smoke and ash from far-off burning trees. Somewhere behind them, the forest was dying. But ahead of them? Stillness. Eli and Sayari had been walking all night, their boots soaked, their bodies sore. They had entered the ridge, the dead zone the alien stranger had told them about. No birds, no bugs, no wind, just silence. But the silence didn't scare Sayari. It comforted her. She had known zones like this before. places untouched by machines, places the hunters didn't dare scan. They were hidden now. For a little while, Eli collapsed beside a broken log. He dropped his pack, breathing heavily. Glow floated out from inside his coat and circled once, then landed beside him, softly pulsing blue. "You okay?" He asked it with a weak smile. Glow wiggled once. Eli laughed quietly, even though his legs were shaking. Sayari stood a few steps away, her hand raised in the air, feeling the strange pulses of the land. Her eyes closed. Her breath slowed. "We're safe here," she finally said. Eli looked around. "Safe doesn't feel so warm." Sayari sat down beside him, her voice softer than before. "Safe is not warm, it's only quiet, but sometimes that's enough to heal." Then slowly she reached into her robe and pulled out something wrapped in folded leaves and silver cloth. "This," she said, "is the real gift I promised." Eli blinked. "I thought Glow was the gift." Sayari looked at Glow and smiled. "That was a thank you. This is a choice." She opened the cloth. Inside was something strange. It looked like a large crystal egg faintly glowing from within, but it was breathing, very slowly, expanding, shrinking, like a calm sleeper. "What is that?" Eli asked, his voice nearly a whisper. Sayari touched it gently. "It's called a nyari seed. My people once used it to bond with their protectors. Before we were hunted, before we were sold." Eli stared at it. "What does it do?" "It becomes what you need," she said. "It reads your body, your pain, your loneliness. Then it grows into something that fills that emptiness. It is living. Yes, but more than that, it is loyal, it isn't yours." Eli looked unsure. "You're giving this to me?" "No," she said. "I'm offering it. You can refuse. If you touch it, the bond begins. You can't change your mind later." Eli sat in silence, watching the strange seed. It pulsed gently. Not warm, not cold, just alive. His mind flashed back to the day he found Sayari chained in the woods. The day he made a choice without thinking. The day everything changed. This felt the same. He slowly reached out. Glow hovered nearby, watching. Sayari did not speak. His fingers brushed the seed. And the forest lit up, not with light, but with feeling. Eli gasped. Memories surged through him. His childhood, his mother's voice, the loneliness of living alone, the weight of doing good in a world that didn't care. Then, new feelings. He could sense the seed learning him, understanding him, growing for him. The shell cracked. He pulled his hand back, eyes wide. Inside, the creature uncurled. It was small, soft-skinned, with eyes like moonlight. It blinked at him, then slowly climbed onto his arm. It had no mouth, no claws, just a quiet presence that wrapped around his chest like a hug from something that didn't judge. Sayari smiled. "It chose a form of comfort, not war. That means your heart isn't ready to fight, but to heal." Eli looked at the creature curled on his shoulder. "What do I do with it?" "Keep it close. It will grow with you, change with you, protect you when needed." Glow floated over and touched the newborn creature gently. A small wave of blue light passed between them, like siblings greeting each other for the first time. Eli held the little creature close. "What's its name?" he asked. Sayari stood, wrapping her robe tighter as the wind picked up. "That's not for me to say," she replied. "It's yours now." Suddenly, Glow turned red. Eli looked up. "No, not now." Sayari's eyes sharpened. "They're close, closer than they should be." "How?" Eli stood quickly, holding the new creature close. "We're in the dead zone." "They must have followed the heat trail," she said. "Our movements, or worse, someone betrayed us." She grabbed her blade. Eli looked down at the creature in his arms, then at Sayari. "We can't run forever," he said. "No," she agreed. "But now," she added, "we don't run alone." They came for her. They arrived before nightfall, not with noise. Not with lights, with silence, like wolves. Sayari felt them before she saw them. Her body froze, her head tilting slightly, listening to something Eli could not hear. Then she whispered 2 words. "They're here." Eli looked toward the trees. Nothing moved, no leaves rustled, no birds flew, but deep in the fog of the dead zone, dark shapes were forming, tall, armored, inhuman. The collectors, 6 of them, black suits with red visors, weapons humming with energy. They moved like ghosts, not even snapping branches beneath. Their feet and at the center, one taller than the rest, gold armor, pale skin under the helmet, eyes glowing blue. Sayari whispered, "That's the handler." Eli felt his hands shake. "The one who chained you?" She nodded. Her voice went cold. "The one who sold my sisters." They didn't wait. The handler raised a hand. The forest erupted. A sonic wave hit the cabin from a distance, cracking trees and sending birds flying in every direction. The energy shield Sayari had placed earlier held just for a second, then shattered like glass. Eli grabbed the newborn creature clinging to his shoulder. Glow flared red and shot upward, releasing a high-pitched alarm. Sayari was already moving, her blade in hand, her feet barely touching the ground. "Run!" she yelled at Eli, but Eli didn't move. Not this time. He ducked behind a fallen log and raised his old rifle. The collector nearest him spotted the motion and fired, a bolt of blue plasma hitting the ground inches from Eli's foot. Eli returned. Fire. His bullet scraped the alien's helmet, sending it stumbling. Not enough to kill, but enough to draw attention. 2 more turned toward him. Sayari leapt between them and Eli, her blade glowing now, charged with energy from her bloodline. She struck with speed Eli couldn't follow, cutting through one attacker's chest armor and throwing the other back with a blast of force from her hand. The forest lit up with fire and fury. The handler didn't fight yet. He walked calmly through the smoke, his gaze locked on Sayari. "You were always a clever one," he said. "But cleverness is not freedom." Sayari growled, her voice sharp. "Freedom is what I already have, and I'm never giving it back." Eli shouted, "You want her? You'll have to kill me first." The handler turned to him slowly. "That was always the plan." He raised his hand. Sayari dashed forward faster than a blink. Their blades clashed. Blue fire met gold steel. The ground cracked beneath them. The other collectors tried to move in. But Glow wasn't just a pet anymore. The tiny creature expanded suddenly, forming a floating barrier of energy around Eli and the new life form on his shoulder. Bullets and blasts bounced off harmlessly. Eli stared in awe. "What? What are you?" Glow didn't answer. It protected. Sayari and the handler clashed again and again. Sparks flew. Trees fell. Blood spilled. She fought not like a warrior, but like someone who had already died once and refused to die again. But the handler was strong, trained, cold. He slammed her back into a rock, grabbed her by the throat, and hissed, "You were never more than property." Her hand trembled, her strength fading. Then Eli shouted from across the clearing, "She's not yours!" and fired. The bullet struck the side of the handler's helmet, cracking it open. Sayari gasped and drove her blade through his side. He screamed. The other collectors rushed in, but the newborn creature on Eli's shoulder suddenly pulsed bright white, and a shockwave blasted outward, sending the soldiers flying. The forest fell silent again. The handler collapsed, breathing, but defeated. Eli ran to Sayari. She was on her, knees holding her ribs, bleeding, exhausted. He helped her stand. She looked up at him. "You stayed. You think I'd leave you after all this?" he said with a tired smile. She leaned on him, her voice soft. "Then you deserve to know the truth." Eli blinked. "What truth?" Sayari reached into the handler's broken armor and pulled out a small glowing key. "A way to end them," she said. "Not just for me, but for others. For all the ones still in chains." The forest around them was wrecked, but the fight wasn't over. The fight was just changing. Not just a gift, the forest still burned behind them. Smoke climbed into the sky like a dark warning, and the trees stood as broken shadows. The battle was over, but peace had not yet arrived. Eli sat beside Sayari under a rocky overhang, both of them breathing hard. Her wounds had been wrapped. His hands were blistered. Glow floated slowly above them, now pulsing with a soft white light. The newborn creature slept against Eli's chest, curled up like a baby that had never seen war. Between them, on the ground, was the glowing key Sayari had taken from the handler's body. "This," she said, staring at it, "isn't just tech, it's a beacon." Eli tilted his head. "A beacon for what?" Sayari touched it gently. "It holds the access code to a collector ship, but not just any ship. One with names, cargo logs, records, thousands of lives, alien lives, still listed as property." Her voice shook slightly. "Sisters, my brothers, many I never met, but who share my fate." Eli stared at the key, then at her. "You want to free them?" "I have to free them," she replied, "and I can't do it alone." He smiled tiredly. "You're not alone anymore." That night the sky cleared. For the first time in days, stars were visible. The forest cooled. The newborn creature woke, looked up at the stars and made a soft cooing noise, its first sound. Sayari laughed softly. Eli looked at her. "What?" "He's becoming more like you." Eli raised an eyebrow. "Is that good or bad?" She gave him a gentle nudge. "You're not a soldier. You're not a king, but you're kind. And sometimes kindness is more powerful than any sword." They sat in silence for a moment longer. Then she added, "You should name him. He belongs to you now." Eli looked down at the creature, thought for a moment, then whispered, "Hope. His name is Hope." Glow blinked once, as if approving. Sayari leaned back against the rock. "It suits him." Morning came, and with it a message. Glow shimmered briefly and projected a faint image, blurry and cracked, but recognizable. The alien soldier who had warned them. His voice was broken but clear enough. "They've sent another team, larger, faster. I couldn't stop them all. But I delayed them. You still have time. Use it well." The message ended. Eli stood quickly. "We have to move." Sayari nodded. "Yes, but not to run." She picked up the beacon key and placed it in a small pouch at her side. "We go to them," she said. "We take their ship. We use their tools. We bring them down from the inside." Eli's eyes widened. "You're talking war." "I'm talking freedom." He looked at her again, not as the girl he found chained to a tree, but as a leader. Fighter. A light in the darkness, and maybe something more. Before leaving, they stood by the place where the battle had ended. Sayari looked down at the burned ground. Then she did something strange. She knelt, and she placed a small stone at the center. "What's that?" Eli asked. She whispered, "A marker. For the day the hunted became the hunter." Then she stood, brushed off her hands, and turned to him. "You gave me more than my life back, Eli." He smiled. "I just cut the chains." She stepped closer, her voice soft. "No," she said. "You saw me, and you didn't look away." Then gently she reached out and took his hand. Not in fear, not in debt, but in trust. Maybe even love, and so with hope on Eli's shoulder and Glow lighting the path ahead, they walked out of the forest together. Not running, not hiding, but rising. To finish what had begun. To return the gift. Not just to one, but to many.